Hello everybody, it is Monday the 21st of June 2021. Welcome back to another quick gardening tour. It is really windy, I'm sure you're going to hear it. We're going to start in the orchard because we got color on some of these trees. Here's the Eubanks cherry tree, gorgeous. Just look at this. Here's like my fingers, my hand for size comparisons. I tried one of these about a week ago. Let's see how they taste now. They definitely come off nice and ripe. Still awfully tart, but getting there. This is not a sweet eating cherry, it's a baking cherry. But still, that's awfully tart. I'm thinking I should probably put a net on this for the birds too. The Mount Morrissey cherry is lagging a little bit behind. I got one there, and most of these haven't turned yet. This is the Reliance peach. The Contender peach also has some, although it's lagging behind significantly in size. Take a look. Look, I got a beautiful daddy longlegs spider. That's pretty nice. These are coming along nicely. And just check out the clusters, just such healthy pollination. Not much in the way of June drop. Directly below this, kind of follow my finger down, we're getting some June drop, but like that was from a cluster of 4, and now it was thinned down to 3. That's normal. My Snappy Mac apple, I think if I'm lucky I'll get a dozen apples out of it. It's the first year it even fruited at all, so I'm happy. Considering the Reliance peach last year had about a dozen on them and they all fell off. If this follows the same pattern, that means next year I'm going to get a ton of apples. The ones that I do have look lovely though. I don't know how far they're supposed to be along. I'm not really expecting anything super productive this year. I'm just happy that anything happened. Look at this, the sun comes out for one moment. The skies have been gray all day. It's like upper 60s, very windy. Let's go into the garden. Just kidding, let's stand right outside the fence and look. You can see the Mexican sunflowers are starting to open up as they climb. And as promised, look at that, bees love them. There's a happy little pollinator doing his business. We got a couple other flowers open along the way down there. And the blueberries look fine in between. In the frontmost raised bed, you can see we've got some sunflowers of different varieties staked up, and all of the brassicas look beautiful. A size comparison, my biggest colobos cauliflower compared to, I think this is a broccoli on the left. In the next bed up, tomatoes are easily over that 3-foot mark. I did some nice pruning, they're growing great. Nothing much really to say about the carrots. I did finally thin out the gooseberries, and by thin them out I mean remove the ones that were planted too closely, and right after that these popped up, started really looking nice and mature, and I transplanted a few of the ones that I dug up into other areas. We'll see how they go as I pull out the carrots. Here we have a rain gauge that was a Father's Day present. Looks like we got a little bit of rain overnight. In this corner of that bed is where I kind of plant random stuff. Here we have some bee-friendly plant that's really grown over the years. The 2 crookneck squashes and the 2 pumpkins, you can see they've fallen down and they are being trained into these paths. And I trimmed the blackberries that were growing, buried some heads so they'll hopefully sprout up. I also buried some trimmings. They look terrible now, but they might take, believe it or not, for next year. In the next bed up, we've got lots of snap peas, pints upon pints. They are delicious. Oh, that wind. If you've never had a sugar snap pea straight from the vine, you don't know what you're missing. Crunchy, sweet, incredibly satisfying. Potato flour, pretty lovely. Fruit will set on this. Do not eat it. It's poisonous. If you recall, this section is where the radishes were. I left a few of them in here to grow some more and actually to bolt. They are flowering, and as these flowers do their thing, we'll get radish pods that form, and radish pods are delicious in stir fry. If you look closely, you can see different color soil. I did dig trenches and fill these with zinnia seeds just yesterday so that this fall, oh, there's the sun, this fall we'll have a nice zinnia harvest. In the next bed, these strawberries are effectively done for the rest of this year, and now I can get asparagus shoots again as I want as they come up. This is a perfect length, about the size of a pencil. Snap it, I have eaten more of these fresh and raw than I have cooked. They're spectacular. I think raw asparagus is better than cooked, to be completely honest. And when you pick it fresh like this, it's not woody. It's just wonderful. I need a bigger asparagus bed. Well, in that closing thought here, the strawberries are sending out runners. I need to clip these off and transplant them into the bed, but my bed's pretty full, so I'm going to share these with some of my neighbors whose strawberries have suffered because they transplanted them into barrels. Interestingly enough, many of the strawberries in here came from said neighbors. So it's like a they help me, now I get to help them situation. In the next bed up, some of the peas are almost as tall as I am. I'm glad that I have this trellis system because it's so windy. It's amazing how well the tendrils hold on. The late potatoes are totally filling in the space. They're doing an amazing job. And these beets, I wonder if I can harvest some of these soon. I'm interested to see how they've pushed the competition away. But speaking of competition, well, not really competition, the onions that I intercropped are getting real thick. I'm eager to see when these start yellowing, when I pull them out, how big they've gotten. Here in the corner, the herbs look just lovely. I've got recipes calling for dill this week, basil, cilantro. Even though it's going to bolt, you can use plenty of it. These will form little seed pods, which will then rain back down in here for a fall harvest of cilantro. And I think this lavender just looks amazing. If it might even fill up this whole barrel in time. The zucchinis, I did start training to go upward. You can see we've got fruit that are setting. I'm just taking it day by day. Hard to tell with the wind, but the Jerusalem artichokes are about up to boob. Yeah. And it looks like something sat on my Egyptian walking onions. Really squashed them. They'll be fine. It just looks silly. Back here in Barrel Alley, chard keeps growing. I've pulled chard and kale for recipes, just kind of snip by snip. Not sure why some of this is browning, but still very plenty healthy. I've yet to reseed this with anything. The mint grows like mad this time of year. I made a whole bunch of mint jam. I baked some other mint things, gave a bunch away. So this, I might just dry a lot of it, but plenty of time left in the season for mojitos. And the peppers are growing very nicely. They've gotten a lot of good rain. They are getting a lot of heat, so things are finally looking up. And speaking of looking up, here's some climbing flower seeds that happen to germinate in there. We'll see how high they climb. Probably morning glories these were. Check out that gooseberry bush now that all of the berries have been harvested from it. It's just so springy and bushy. I'm really going to have to prune it this year. Some of the early raspberries are actually ready to be harvested. Believe it or not, all that great rain that we've had lately has made some of them mature quickly. Oh, there we go. So the mature canes from last year, or the year before that, bear fruit first, and then the new growth this year bears fruit later in the season. So these are from old canes, and boy, do they look delicious, don't they? Let's see if they are delicious. They're so good. I love eating my fresh fruit in front of you. We'll dive down into the Beanstalk Alley, and at different points, you see different heights of vines climbing, but they are all climbing. This one naked area is where the bunny hole was. You see I've got to still help some of these beans here wind on up. You give them a little bit of aid to start, and then they just take it away. But as we get a little bit further on, you can just see how nicely this is filling in. That's the 4-foot mark or so over there. Here's the red currant. This one I got from a bare root plant 3 years ago. And if you ignore the ones on the top, look at this cluster down here. Holy cow. That's gorgeous. I've never had a crop of red currants before. I don't know if these are ready to be harvested or not. I'm gonna pick one. Oh, it's nice and soft. Kind of springy. Let's try it. The color is good. The flavor is not offensive. Not as horrible as that tart underripe cherry was earlier. I think I'll let them go for a little while yet. Nobody better get those clusters. No animal better. The black currant is doing the same thing. Look, we got some clusters down here that haven't ripened. Here's a section that's ripening. You can see the black setting on there. Same with the cluster right over here. Cool. I think it's pretty easy to see why June and July are my two favorite months in the garden. We've got another 10 days left of June, effectively in the whole month of July. Yesterday was the solstice, so you get these long days. It's great coming out here to water in the morning if you need to. We've had rain lately, so I haven't had to, but it's good to therapeutically walk through the garden in the evening. Now, everything is so well established, it's just going to fill out and get taller and become even more spectacular. So this is why we do it, right? For this time of year and all the things that are coming on. Lots of new experiences for me this year with the fruit trees, those currants, some other stuff. I'm pleased, very proud. How are things going in your garden? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this, you know what to do. Until next week, happy gardening, guys. Bye.